everyone, and welcome to Growing Together, a gardening podcast with me, John Lamb, and Don Kinsler, a lifelong gardener and the North Dakota State University Extension horticulturist for Cass County. Don, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. You know, the weather hasn't been hot and sunny and everything, but that's okay. You know, spring is kind of gradually coming on in, and so the plants can gradually grow and become accustomed. So I'm fine with this weather. That's been a little on the cool side, but, you know, spring will come.
We're in May. We're already in May.
We're in May. Oh, man, just think of what all happens during the month of May.
Yeah.
We start out early May. Things are just kind of barely kind of coming, poking through, trees barely leafing out. And just think by the end of May, what a transition it is.
Well, and about halfway through, we'll start planting.
Yes, I can't wait.
Well, and you know, that's one of our big things on our calendars is about mid-May to start planning. That's when we look at the calendars. But one of the big events happening on the calendar recently was the NFL football draft. And we're not as big sports people as we are garden people here on this podcast. But, you know, it's something that people were talking about. It's something we really couldn't escape. So we thought we should have a garden draft.
Yes.
A fantasy garden draft where we will draft the plants, trees, shrubs, flowers that we want for our yard.
Yeah, I'm not heavily into football, but each year my family does the fantasy football draft. Mm-hmm. You know, and there's big competition to see, okay, you have your choice of quarterbacks.
Yep.
And, you know, I don't know these football players, so I'll just go with Carson Wentz, you know, okay. NDSU and all. So, but yeah, well, this will be fun to see because now, you know, if I get Honeycrisp apple on the first round, you can't have Honeycrisp apple.
But yeah, so exactly. Are we going to go by, let's see if we go by the consensus top picks or if we pull out a dark horse from no place. We just decided that we were going to kind of mix it up a little bit.
So we're going to each build our yard based on these picks.
And we've got,
if you get it, I can't have it.
Yeah, and we've got different kind of rounds or categories rather, where we're going to be picking from. We'll do about 3 picks per. We'll see how that goes with time. And if we have to go rapid fire to wrap things up at the end, we'll go ahead and we'll do that.
And this may be the first fantasy yard draft in history.
First, but I doubt it'll be the last. Well, hopefully this branches out, so to speak. Well, joining us today is we have an official here to do the coin toss. We've got our show producer, Chris Kurzman in, and he is going to lead us off.
That's right. Gentlemen, I want a good, clean match. I guess this isn't like a boxing match or anything. But I have here a quarter. There's the head side, and there's the tail side. Don, color in the air.
Heads.
Coming to a rest there. It is heads. Don,
heads.
You have the first pick in the inaugural 2026 garden draft. Congratulations.
Thank you. This is going to be an honor to get the first pick because we're going to go through each of the different components that make up a yard. And so I am happy. Should we get right into it, John?
Okay, go for it, Don.
All right. So when we start building any yard, say we're starting from scratch, one of the first things you need to put in are shade trees. So I get the first pick of shade tree. I am going to go with the buckeye. Oh, there are some beautiful buckeyes. NDSU developed some wonderful ones. Prairie Torch. I think Prairie Torch is the cultivar buckeye that I'm going to go with. So buckeye, I get that. They developed such a beautiful fall color. It's a big, good shade tree. So I'm going to locate that probably in the front yard off to the side, maybe to the south. So it's going to give some shade eventually.
I'm going to go with something that also will offer some shade, but will also offer some color, both in the leaves and in the tree bark itself. I'm going to go with a birch. I think that'll be
good, nice pick.
And I think also, you know, this is our first fantasy draft, so you have to kind of you're building, and I think a birch will probably grow relatively. They can be fast growers,
especially if you keep the moisture up.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the birch and get the color both off the leaves and in the great paper bark that it's got. I'm really looking forward to that. I think I'm going to. Well, you did a river birch that's got kind of a metallic,
it's kind of a brownish, tannish exfoliating bark. Oh, yeah, good pick. I respect. I respect that. All right. So for under shade trees, my next pick then, I'm going to go with hackberry.
Okay.
Hackberry is a good shade tree, wonderful big shade tree. And so I'm probably going to locate that maybe to the north side to give kind of some shade and some protection on that side. Hackberry is related to the elm, so they're a good, wonderful, fast grower. Hackberry is native, so I'm going to go with a hackberry for another pick.
I'm going to stick with kind of going with another relatively fast growing tree, kind of a good boulevard tree. I'm going to go with a linden. They're perfectly fine. That they will come in pretty fast. They grow pretty fast. They'll get some good leaves. I'm going to go with a linden. It's nothing flashy, but I'm going to go with something a little bit more substantial.
Especially on your boulevard.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. Okay, so I'm next on the shade trees. Okay, you got me thinking. All right, so my next pick is an oak. And I'm going to put that on the boulevard.
You're going for the long haul. You're thinking long.
I'm going to put that oak. It should be there for another 200 years or so. So I'm going with oak. And there's a wonderful oak developed by NDSU that I think I'm going to even narrow it down closer to prairie stature oak. Yeah, so I'm going to go with that. So your next pick on these shade type trees,
and my last and final pick, and I'm kind of stuck on this one because I love maple trees. We don't have necessarily great. Our soil is not conducive to maples necessarily, especially
kind of heavy clay, alkaline.
Clay, right? It can be kind of tough. So I like maples because I like that they can be kind of showy, and I know that NDSU has developed some maples, some for the area. But I think I'm going to go with a honey locust.
Oh, yeah, good. Because, just like football players that are prone to injuries, maple could be prone to injuries. So
right.
I think that honey locust is maybe a wiser pick.
Yeah, and something that's a little bit different, but still, again, it's well known in our area. It's established. I think it's going to be good to go.
Yeah, I think that will. And so, that gives some pretty good shade tree definition to our team or our yard.
Right.
I think that's going to work well.
We've got some good variety there, too.
Yeah, oh, good. Yeah, so that'll help to build that. And of course, next then we could go into the category of evergreen trees. Yeah. And so I get first pick on the evergreen trees. I am going to go, there's some beautiful evergreen trees. I'm going to go with Scotch pine.
Okay.
Scotch pine, of course, they have longer needles than the spruce, but Scotch pine develops in time a really nice orange bark. And so as they age, you look up at that Scotch pine and you can see that orange bark in there. And so that's why my first pick then is Scotch pine.
I think I am going to go and we'll see that I'm kind of tend to be leaning more towards ornamental as far as or things that have an ornamental value, an aesthetic value. I'm going to go with a weeping white spruce. These are really fun for those people who may not know exactly what this is. The name kind of says it all in a little bit. They do not get terribly tall. I think maybe they top out around 20 feet or so.
Yeah, interesting pick.
They're very, very slender. They're great. I think they're great accent pieces in gardens. They're very, very slender. And as the name suggests, the branches just kind of hang, not directly straight down, but they just kind of, it is something that looks like it's been doused in water and it's just.
Yes, they're a feature.
They are, and they really can be. I think they're really, really beautiful. And
whereabouts in your yard are going to locate
I think
that?
I would use it probably in a corner in the backyard because you want them, I think, to be a little bit to have some. You don't want them being whipped around by the wind,
sure,
because they are a very narrow tree like that. But I think like in a corner where it would have some kind of protection from the elements, but still in and around a garden. I think it's going to be I think it would be something that both plants in front of it would look great, but in and of itself, especially in the winter, watching little snow hang off of it. Weeping white spruce. It's my kind of my odd pick there.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so the next choice is mine. I am going to go with a new Norway spruce type, and NDSU developed a new Norway spruce type. And I've got to look up and see exactly what the name of that is. But again, Norway spruce is kind of one of the shorter needle types. Grows up to 35, 40 feet tall, so it's a good tall one. So I'm going to go with the Norway spruce.
Spruce. Okay.
Now that's opposite. Norway pine isn't our list because Norway pine, long needled pine, used to be used as Christmas trees a lot, but of course they don't grow as well here. So Norway spruce goes to me. Okay. How about you?
I'm going to go kind of a little bit off book again here. And this I'm going to go based on personal affiliation. I'm going to go with an arborvitae tree. We have arborvitae trees in our backyard as kind of an entry to the backyard. But the thing that I love about them in particular is we get great bird action there, especially the cardinals. And I would hate to miss my cardinals. And I think the arborvitae is just kind of a good, solid, it's a great shade protection tree.
So you need those arborvitae trees because they're so beautiful. Now, we've been to your backyard.
Yep.
And how tall are those?
Oh, those are probably...
Because you have a row of them.
Yeah,
so they make a wonderful screen.
Yep.
And it's like walking kind of partway under those. They're awesome. I don't know.
Really get a forest feel when
I don't know, like 25, 30 feet tall?
30 plus,
30 plus feet, yeah. Oh, nice choice.
I'm going to kind of go a little bit off the standard evergreen there, but that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I like it. So now for a last pick here, white pine with the flexible needles. No. Okay, our yard is in the Red River Valley clay soil. White pine does beautifully over in Minnesota, but I'm going to have to pass on white pine. So instead, I'm going to go with ponderosa pine, the long-needled pine, native out in western North Dakota. So that's going to be an evergreen trees. That's going to be my final pick to round out that. Now, where am I going to plant ponderosa pine? Probably in the backyard, kind of in maybe one of the corners. I think ponderosa pine will be a good choice for that.
Okay, I'm gonna stick with. I have to admit, as with my fantasy baseball draft, I don't always go in with the best laid plans. So I'm going to kind of go off book again here. Black Hills spruce. Tell me about Black Hills spruce.
Yeah, Black Hills spruce, beautiful, dark green.
Yep.
Dark green, native, of course, in the Black Hills, does beautifully. It actually does a little better for our area than the Colorado spruce, which some of them tend to be blue. Okay. They're beautiful too, but they are a little more prone to disease from Black Hills spruce. So if you're leaning towards Black Hills spruce instead of Colorado, that's actually a pretty good pick.
I think I'm going to go that way. And I can't remember if Black Hills spruce, do they get terribly big?
They're 35 feet. Yeah, the big regular pyramidal spruce.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are, So
that would be
that
maybe something I'd put out in front then.
Yeah.
As another
kind
thing.
of in the front, off to the sides a little bit. Yeah, to kind of frame. And so, good. So it looks like we've got each a good start on some decent picks on evergreen trees. And of course, then next to kind of fill out and round out small ornamental trees that work well, like for screening in the backyard or off to the sides where you want to give a little protection off to the sides. So kind of that smaller size ornamental trees. Boy, there are some nice ones. My first pick is I get Japanese tree lilac.
Well, first time I've been sniped today.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. Japanese tree lilac. Yeah, you can't have that. Japanese tree lilac with their big poofs of white flowers. They bloom later than the standard purple type lilac. So they're nice. Ornamental tree, wonderful poofy white blossoms, middle of June or so. But I love, even when they aren't blooming, I love that kind of screening, that low-headed screening. Mm-hmm. So I got those. You can't have it. What is your choice for a smaller kind of ornamental type screening type tree?
Let me see here. I'm going to go. I think. Maybe I will try I'm going to try a maple. I'm going to go with the Amur maple.
Oh, yeah. Those are nice. The fall color is absolutely awesome on those. And Amur maple does better in our soil than some of the other types of maples. So
it's just
Amur
not a full-grown, larger maple.
So a larger shrubby type maple. Not, a small tree, large shrub.
Right.
And so, you get some really good screening. Amur maple, that's an admirable choice.
Yeah.
So for my next one, I am going to go with Probably the Canada Red Cherry.
Oh,
now they're beautiful.
Okay.
Is that, did I get it before you?
Yeah,
got it? Yeah,
no, that's okay though. That's all right.
Canada Red Cherry, of course, they're fascinating. They leaf out green in the spring and early summer, then turn purple. At some point in June, the leaves turn purple. And Canada Red Cherry, I really like that. They are prone to a fungal disease called black knot. But even so, everything has its little bit of a downsize. Any player can get injured. And so I'm going with Canada Red Cherry. I got to tell you a quick story about Canada Red Cherry. Did you know that was originally developed in North Dakota, in Bismarck? It was called the Schubert chokecherry. A gentleman by the name of Lawrence Schubert, in a whole bunch of windbreak chokecherries. He saw one, my gosh, one's got purple leaves. So he propagated that. It became into the nursery trade as Schubert chokecherry. The Canadians saw these. They were better at marketing. So Canada Red Cherry, a little more snazzy than Schubert chokecherry. So anyway, that's my long story about that pick. So what have you got?
I think I'm going to go with something that's this will be kind of a decisive pick, or not a decisive, but some people are not fans of flowering crab trees. I think just right now, so where we are in the season in May, we're starting to see some things coming out. And I think in my yard, I'm going to want to see a little spring color too.
Yeah, I admire that pick because some of the newer varieties that you find at garden centers have fruit that persist, meaning they hang on and they don't become messy. They're little fruit, tiny fruit that hang on, the winter interest, and a lot of the newer varieties less disease prone. Beautiful flowers are some of them. And you know what's neat about that too? Some of the newer varieties of flowering crab apples are columnar. So if you've got a small space, some of them are columnar. They don't grow so round.
Be fun to look at.
And so, hey, you got me thinking. That's a good pick, John.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What are you thinking? What's your last?
Okay, my last pick on a smaller ornamental type tree, probably a mountain ash. My wife Mary has always wanted a mountain ash. And so, they get clusters of kind of orange berries and a blossom earlier in the growing. So I think mountain ash, I think I would probably go with. We have a list coming into this, and there's something that I think I like the name of this one. I don't know much about the tree, but I'm drawn to it just by the name. Tell me about Hot Wings Tatarian maple? Yes.
Tatarian?
Tatarian. Hot Wings Tatarian maple.
That is a good evocative name. There.
Marketing at its best.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So Tatarian maple is similar in size to the Amur maple. They're kind of cousins, and they are a small decorative tree, kind of along the same size as the flowering crab apples that we're probably most familiar with, the ornamental flowering crab apples. 20 feet tall or so, a good lower headed type screening type ornamental tree. But where it gets its name, Hot Wings, maple, the seeds of maples are kind of like a helicopter wing, kind of wings like.
Yep.
And anyway, when this Tatarian maple forms its seed wings, they are a bright pink.
Okay.
And so a bright pinkish red. So it almost looks like the tree is blooming, these bright pink, but actually they're a seed pod. They don't grow up all over like some trees do. So they're essentially sterile. So that's no problem. So that is a good choice. That shows how the naming in the market,
really
even if,
way.
sometimes, I'm not familiar with football players. So sometimes I'll have to pick off a thing just kind of based on, whatever. And so, yeah, that's interesting. You chose Hot Wings Tatarian maple.
Yeah.
So anyway, on each of these categories, I got first pick, but when we come back and delve farther in, and it's your turn, you'll get the first pick on these different categories.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Local news affects your life. It gives you the confidence and clarity to make better decisions every day. You can support that with a digital subscription. Visit inforum.com/subscribe to take advantage of our introductory offer, just $6 for 6 months.
Okay, we're back, and this week, we thought with the recent the football draft, we would have our own draft. We would have our own fantasy yard and garden draft. Picking out the plants, trees, shrubs that we would kind of to build a yard around, to build the greenery around, and
our fantasy yard.
Fantasy yard. We went through the shade trees and the evergreens and the smaller ornamental trees, and now we're going to go into some of the fruit trees. Let's start with the apple trees, and
you get first pick in this group.
This is one. I think this one's going to sting, Don.
So I'm on the edge of my seat.
I'm going to take the Honeycrisp. That's kind of it's one that you just got to grab there. That's
fine.
I think the top. And,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Honeycrisp is certainly
it's become a classic.
It's the gold standard of apples now. I think you look in the store and it would be great to. I don't have an apple tree in our yard, and I think it would be great to try it, but also to have something that does actually have the fruit that you can get the produce from. I think that would be wonderful, and Honeycrisp I think would be the way to go.
Okay, well, I'll yield. Okay. So, then I am going to
some other good choices.
Yeah. Boy, we are in good times apple-wise. I am going to choose Snow Sweet.
Oh, okay.
That is on the market now, relatively new. But Snow Sweet, the name comes from snow because when you cut it, it's slower to turn brown. When you cut an apple, like for a salad or apple slices, they tend to, after a few minutes, they'll start turning kind of a brownish.
Usually you just sprinkle them with a little lemon
to keep.
Or keep
and so Snow Sweet naturally stays a little whiter in color. And of course, it's got a good sweet flavor too. So we do a lot of sliced apples at dinner time. And so I'm going to go with Snow Sweet.
Okay. I'm going to go with a classic, another classic. I'm going to go with the Harrelson.
Yeah, good choice.
Kind of,
good pick.
Again, it's a good workhorse of an apple.
Yeah, that's a classic pick.
Right.
Harrelson's about 100 years old.
I was going to say,
103 years old.
Honeycrisp does seem like it's a really kind of shot into popularity really over the last 30 years.
Harrelson's
been around
got a good following. Yeah, great pick. Then I am going to next go to Prairie Magic because I've grown Prairie Magic in the past. That's an apple developed in Canada. It's a good heavy bearer at a fairly young age. And when I say young age, maybe 4 to 5 years. Some apples can kind of take their time, 7, 8, 9 years. And so I'm going to go with one that'll give me a little better production a little earlier. So I'm going with the Canadian Prairie Magic.
Well, when I'm in a grocery store, and if I don't, sometimes Honeycrisps can be a little bit more expensive, and they maybe not have Harrelson's. One of my other go-to ones is Cosmic Crisp, which
yes.
we don't have.
Oh, good pick.
We've got a Kinder Crisp though. What is it? A Kinder Crisp? I mean, I'm thinking crisp. You want that in an apple bite. You want that crispness. Also, you love baking apple crisps. Tell me about Kinder Crisp.
Yeah, Kinder Crisp is I believe Honeycrisp is in the parentage. Kinder Crisp is a smaller size apple. For example, for a lunch box. Sometimes some of the big, huge apples are almost more than one person can eat. So for a lunch box, Kinder Crisp is a more one-person apple.
Snacking apple.
Yeah, snacking type apple.
Okay.
So that would be a good choice. Now, you got me thinking, Cosmic Crisp. Because we can buy them in the grocery stores. I don't believe that variety, is available as a tree. I don't believe. I would have to check because sometimes these things change quick. But I don't think you can buy. I think it's a patented for production, for fruit production only. I don't think you can buy a Cosmic Crisp tree.
So I'm going to go with the Kinder.
But we can check on that. Okay, and so did we get our 3 picks?
No, you got one more.
I got one more. Okay,
Yep.
Super. So I got one more. Zestar.
Yep.
Zestar's been a good one. And the advantage of having a couple, I'm glad we got 3 picks on those because each of the apples has their own, apple types, has their own ripening kind of window. And so it's kind of nice to have a few. And then for cross-pollination also. So we'll each have a decent home orchard.
Well, what I like about the names of apples, that the apple tree is available, they really hone in on the branding of apples as a really kind of homey, a down home, a comfort thing. Boy, you look at some of the names: State Fair,
Yes.
Zestar, Honey Crisp. You know, they without just saying all Americans, kind of small town.
Yes.
they are saying it with their
Minnesota's done a lot of work on, Minnesota developed the Honey Crisp, the Harrelson State Fair, Zestar, So, Minnesota, the State Fair, so like you say, the branding is good on those.
All right. So I had the first apple pick. Why don't you take the first fruiting tree?
Yeah, what about other fruiting
tree?
trees? Okay, yeah, thank you. So, boy, on other fruiting trees other than apples, you can't have Trader mulberry. I get Trader mulberry.
Okay.
Trader mulberry will grow up to about 30 feet. Sometimes we think mulberry, maybe it's just a shrubby, but Trader mulberry will get up to 35 feet tall. I keep it trimmed, but I got to have Trader mulberry. That is a nice producer of kind of blueberry-sized fruit. They're elongated. I got to have Trader mulberry.
Well, I don't know if I've really seen a pear tree in the wild around here, or outdoors, I should say, but I'm very curious about that one. So that's something that I'm going to give a shot. I'm going to give a shot.
Yeah, good idea, because the locally owned garden centers will usually have, and of course they'll advise you to plant 2 different varieties of pear trees for good pollination.
Okay.
Or maybe your neighbor will have one of them.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a try.
So the next pick goes to me, and you know what I'm going to pick? I'm going to surprise you.
Okay.
I think peach.
Oh,
I'm going to plant a peach tree.
I have never seen a peach tree.
In fact, I already have it ordered. It's sitting. It's bare root.
Okay.
It's sitting in our root cellar.
Okay.
I'm going to plant it soon, probably this weekend. So I ordered the variety called Contender Peach. Now, there are peach trees producing fruit. I mean, when you drive up and down the streets in North Dakota, we don't see peach trees.
No.
And but there are peach trees producing in some of the southern tier of counties across North Dakota. And Contender is one of those. They are generally self-fruitful, so you don't need 2 peach trees. And so I'm going to plant peach tree. Now, they are definitely borderline in hardiness. I'm going to plant it in a microclimate, kind of on the outside of some of our existing big trees, so that there'll be a little protection and where the snow will filter down and cover heavily around the root system. And I'll mulch it. So, yeah, Contender peach. That is my next choice.
Yeah, you get a good crop of peaches, you are set. That's a dream.
Yeah,
right
so
there.
now there'll be I suppose it'll take 4 or 5 years at least, but yes, 4 or 5 years, I'll bring you a peach.
Okay. I am, you know what? I'm going to go a little bit. I have seen plum trees around here. I've never tried one, but I think I'm going to try it.
You beat me the plums.
I'm glad I got it then. Boy, I feel a little bit of relief there.
Oh, good pick, John.
Well, you know what? One thing too is that while these are fruiting trees that we're picking now, there are. I live just north of Concordia, so I walk through the campus quite a bit with the dogs, and they have some non-flowering plum trees they're small contained, but they are beautiful. They are beautiful in the fall. They are one of the first trees to drop their leaves, though, that I see. But they are really pretty nice. So there's a lot of appeal.
Okay,
with
well,
a plum
I'm happy for you that you got plum. Okay, because and that was actually going to be my next pick. But if you've ever tasted a homegrown winter hardy plum, you'll never buy another store-bought plum. They are so sweet. A tree-ripened plum is so sweet and juicy. There are good varieties at local garden centers. Pembina is one. You do need 2, or somebody in the neighborhood has to have a wild plum or not another plum tree, but possibly someone does. So plum is a good choice.
Okay,
that is a good choice. Well, as long as you got that. Then I am going to choose a crab apple called chestnut crab. When you think of crab apples, you think of just little kind of,
small
something not all that good, maybe used for jellies or jams or something. But the chestnut crab apple is one that's it's like a small. Well, it is an apple, but it's larger than the typical crab apples.
Okay.
No, what is it? Probably 3 inches, 2.5 inches in diameter, but really, really sweet. And they're wonderful just for eating fresh off of the tree. So I'll do chestnut crab apple.
I'm going to go with my final pick. I'm going to go with an apricot. Do you say apricot or apricot?
I say apricot.
I've heard it as apricot, but I grew up with it as apricot. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I didn't like apricot growing up necessarily. Now I really do. And I think
that's why I didn't pick it. I don't like them.
Yeah, I think that they're I think that would be kind of a fun one.
Again, I bet if they're really, really good, because I think of an apricot as being a little bit dry flesh, but I probably haven't had a good apricot.
It could be. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have them as a whole.
Now, as long as you mention, I'm the flavors kind of. I'm thinking of the flavor. They have that's a wonderful flavor.
Yeah, and I remember my mom would make apricot jelly, and I really like that. So I'm thinking that this whole thing for me now, my yard is just starting to look like a jarring session. Basically, I'm going to have to up my game on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's go on to fruiting shrubs and small fruits, and let's see what we've got there.
Yeah, so lots. Gosh, here as we're foodscaping, when we're getting our yard built here, we're actually adding things that we can eat into the decorative type part of this. So let's see, John, is it my first choice on fruiting shrubs and small fruit, or are you up first?
I went first. I think you went first on other fruiting trees, because I went first on apple trees. So I think I'm up first on fruiting shrubs and small fruits.
Okay, so I'm curious. What are you gonna pick?
I think I'm gonna go with a raspberry. I'm gonna try a raspberry bush. That's something that we haven't had the space to dedicate to, but it's something I'd really like to try. I know I've got friends of mine. I was just having coffee with them this last weekend, and they were telling me, when summer comes, probably about middle of July, you get around there about the 9th of July, start picking raspberries, and they are so good. And it is. I think a fresh picked raspberry is really, really special. Really great.
Well, I'm getting hungry. Well, I'm glad you went with raspberries, because then I am going to pick strawberries.
Okay.
We don't have a strawberry patch, and I am getting real hungry. I'm going to get some bare root strawberry plants from Garden Center, and so I'm going to put in strawberries. And now, of course, the big choice on strawberries, when I get looking at them, I know there's going to be the June-bearing type. They give a big crop kind of in June, early July. Then there's the ever-bearing type that give you a crop earlier, and then they pause a little, then a crop later. So I'm going to have to decide in strawberries, do I want ever-bearers or June-bearers? Maybe I'll plant 10 of each.
Oh,
I think that's what I'm going to do.
Well, that'd be good.
Yeah. Okay. Your next pick.
I'm going to go with one that I have seen in town. I haven't been able to sample the fruit, because it's been at the up north in North Fargo, the garden there, the community garden, the honeyberry.
Oh, yeah, good choice.
And honeyberry, I became aware of from watching a gardening channel, YouTube videos. And I think a honeyberry is it's almost like a mix of berries, right? Or is it kind of a cross,
when people describe the flavor of it, and they're kind of a little bit of an oblong, oval type fruit, kind of bluish in color. And when people describe it as a mix of raspberry tones, blueberry tones, so maybe throw in a little strawberry, and so it's kind of a mixed flavor of fruit, but delicious. I have eaten those, and they're beautiful.
Yeah, it's something I'd be really curious about.
Yeah, well, you beat me to that one, because I would like that. Well, I'm gonna. My next pick will be a good old standby that's done well for us. That'll be the Aronia. Yeah, Aronia is like a good quarterback. That'll
it has been
serve
for you.
me well.
You've got some big,
we get about five ice cream buckets off of one Aronia. And one thing I like about that, you only need one of those. in order to get
And it
lots
can
of
get quite
production.
big.
Yes. Yeah. Some variety, depending on the varieties.
Right.
So a person checks the tag. Ours gets around 5.5 feet tall without much pruning. There are some types that will get 8-9 feet. So important to look for which variety you actually have. We've got lots of aronia berries in the freezer. They freeze really well. Just pick them, wash them, and into the freezer.
Oh boy.
So what's your next one there, John?
I feel as a Moorhead resident, I should say gooseberries. So,
yes.
and I also should say,
is that where the park was named after a gooseberry?
I think so.
Probably.
And
maybe
I should
wild.
say, for whatever reason, I grew up calling it gooseberry. And not gooseberry.
Oh, gooseberry.
Gooseberry. I don't know why. So I'm gonna maybe try to mend my ways with the gooseberry, and by growing one, and I'm gonna give that a shot.
A good idea. One of the varieties of gooseberry that's been on the market for almost ever is Pixwell, and that was developed actually at NDSU, probably in the 1920s or 30s. Yeah. Nice pick. Then I will go with kind of one that's grown similar to that, and that's currants.
Okay.
There's black currant and red currant. And
another great jelly.
Another great jelly.
Jelly maker, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be good. And, the advantage of either gooseberry or the currants, they're decent landscape shrubs too. So you can have those in kind of your landscape, and then it produces something to eat.
Okay. So your turn next with the landscape shrubs.
Yes. Okay. So now we've built a lot of our yard and trees and fruits and things like that. Now we'll need to landscape kind of around the house and kind of some of the understory types things. For shrubs that have green or colorful foliage, the first one I'm going to go with, and you're maybe going to laugh, John, but I'm going with Globe Carigana. Now, if you're not familiar with Globe Carigana, they are just rock solid and hardy. And the Globe Carigana actually has a beautiful rounded shape that looks like you keep it trimmed, but you don't have to keep it trimmed. And I'm going to do a little section of hedge of Globe Carigana, and as kind of a little divider. So Globe Carigana is that's my pick there.
Sam will tell you this, my girlfriend will tell you this, that I can get stuck in a rut when we go to garden centers, and I like certain things. And one of the things I like is finding something with maybe like just a non-green color. So I'm going to go with a dark colored 9-bark.
Which one?
Well, I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, there are several different ones.
There are number ones. There was one I think I called Summer Wine.
Yeah.
And that just kind of tells you everything that you need to know there.
Oh, good pick.
The thing I really like about 9-barks is the leaves themselves are such an attraction.
Yes.
And even if they're not green, but they're textured, they've got this great form and structure. They are just something that I think is just really, really beautiful. And 9-bark is something I'd really like to do.
Yes. We have one called Amber Jubilee 9-bark, which has kind of coppery color tones and green, named after, I think, Queen Elizabeth, one of her many jubilees. Amber Jubilee. Since you had 9-bark, I can't have it. But yeah, wise choice.
I'm going to go with that kind. If there's another one that you wanted to grab, we will say that if we could specify certain kinds of 9-barks. Then I should say too, the 9-barks can be like some of those are a little bit more shade tolerant, right?
They are. Yeah.
So it's kind of a nice variety for if you've got a smaller
they'll kind
yard
of tolerate and grow decently even in some shade. So then, if you get 9-bark, then I am going to go with dogwood. There's a dogwood. There are different cultivars of dogwood. So I'm going to specify dogwood Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
That one is a really intensely colored twig. So even when it's not in leafy growth, it gives me some really good winter red color. So dogwood is mine. It is, and you see a lot of people now maybe kind of like doing something, well, not right now, but in winter, people will decorate with dogwood twigs that they have harvested. They are really great growers. I can tell you this, that we planted them our first couple of years in the house, and they've grown really great. I'm going to go with something that's a little prickly to work with, and barberry. But again, super colorful, very, very just a beautiful thing, hard to work with and hard to work around. It's right there in the name, barberry. It is.
But really a beautiful small little shrub. And there are different varieties too. That I think I've seen some that can get a little tall too.
Yeah,
like
there's a
5 feet
little
or so.
a pygmy type, I believe they're called, which is a cultivar of it. And then there's also the taller ones too.
Yeah, 4 or 5
So
feet.
interesting. Well, because of the thorns on those, I'm not going to be real disappointed that you got barberry.
You're not going to fight me over that one. Okay.
So cotoneaster.
Okay.
Cotoneaster, and the reason I'm choosing cotoneaster, I want to do a divider hedge towards our neighbors. I mean, not because I don't like our neighbors. I love our neighbors. But just it's kind of nice to have a border on the to have a hedge on the border. And hedges are making a comeback, trimmed hedge. And cotoneaster is a classic trimmed hedge. It's got a smaller leaf, which means you can shear it well without chopping leaves in half. And so, I'll do cotoneaster.
Is cotoneaster related to the asters at all? The aster plants?
No.
Just totally?
Yep, totally different.
Okay.
Just kind of tend to. Cotoneaster is the one that, if a person were to look at how do you spell it, it would sure look like it should be cotton Easter.
Yes.
And so,
well, I'm kind of the dogwood was one that I would have picked, but left on the list. I'm going to go with the alpine currant. I don't know much about it, but what can you tell me about the alpine currant?
Do you know that hedge in front of our house on either side? There's a curved hedge.
Okay.
And alpine currant makes a wonderful hedge. And so if you've got an area where you want to put a hedge, and that can be maintained anywhere from 12 inches up to 5 feet. So have you ever seen on some of these landscapes where they have a little short hedge kind of dividing an area?
Yeah.
And that's maybe only a foot high.
You could just step over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And alpine currant is one that does well for that. Well, now those were kind of the leafy type shrubs. What about the flowering shrubs? Now, if you kept track, John, is it your first pick?
I think this one's mine.
Your first pick on the flowering landscape shrubs.
Well, and I've got a particular variety because I think, I know that we have to replace a hydrangea this year, and we had a lot of really good luck with a berry white hydrangea a couple of years ago. It's a good flower, or a good flowering head, good flowering flower, but really kind of a nice a little bit more than pink as far as the flowers come, and it's done really well for us. So I would not be afraid to plant another one.
Oh yeah, great. Well, so hydrangea goes to John. Yeah, my hat off. That's a wonderful first draft pick.
Enough other hydrangeas. We could probably just do a whole hydrangea draft.
Exactly. But that's a great, admirable first draft pick on the flowering shrubs. Then I'm going to go to potentilla.
Okay.
Potentilla, maybe I'll put that on the south side of the house where it's kind of hot and dry, sunny. And so potentilla. In fact, gosh, the one I really like is Dakota Sunspot. And that's available at local garden centers, developed at NDSU. And that was native out in western North Dakota, too. They found one that just had beautiful, big, sunny, clear, clean blossoms. And so, so potentilla goes to me.
I'm going to go with the spirea. And again, there's a lot of different spireas. We got a candy corn one a couple of years ago that I liked, and I just don't think that one didn't work. And I think that may have been on our end. But something I'd try again because it gets these kind of orange, yellowish, green leaves.
Sure.
So, and they're shaped kind of like the candy corn. The candy corn is shaped like a kind of a leaf. But spireas just in general are real great. They can be really small. They can get a little bit bigger. I don't really see
so many
too
good,
big. So many different
types.
ones, and they can be really good in shady areas too.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a good adaptable
all the way
one.
From little mound-shaped ones up to the taller ones. The old-fashioned bridal wreath spirea that blooms probably late May with the arching.
Really thin twigs.
That arch down in these beautiful white, well-named bridal wreath. And so, lots of good. Yeah, well, my hat's off to you for spireas. Okay, well then, let's see. I gotta take lilac. I gotta have lilacs. Boy, what would May be without the aroma of lilacs? Even the old fashioned lilac, I love those. So that one goes to me.
I'm going to go, with forsythia. I love that first bright yellow.
They're blooming now.
Exactly. They're one of the first colors you see.
Yeah, even without the leaves, the blossoms pop out of the twigs. Out.
Yeah, and I think those are really interesting. I'm going to go with, again, something that I want to see a little bit more color right away in the year, and I'm going to go with forsythia.
Well, one that I have never actually grown in our own place. I've seen plenty of them. So I'm going to take mock orange. The aroma of mock orange is beautiful. The white blossoms, and they rejuvenate well, I know. So since I've never grown that mock orange, I'll take mock orange.
Okay. All right. That brings us through the shrub. Well, we've got one more.
Yeah, evergreen. We got to put
shrubs
in with our landscaping around our house or the edges, along with the leafy deciduous. We got to blend in some evergreen type shrubs. So yeah, that evergreen category. Let's see. So I believe I get the first pick on this one. Okay. So under evergreen shrubs, I'm gonna pick the spreading creeping junipers.
Okay.
The low growing type of junipers that spread outward, because there are kind of bluish tint ones. They're dark green. And so I'm gonna get a couple of those of different colors and put them side by side. And those I will put so they'll kind of creep along under or around my other shrubs.
Okay.
Okay. So the creeping junipers goes to Don.
In my mom's old house, north side, facing the street, not necessarily great for sun, but did get some. We planted yews, Japanese yews there, and they did really pretty well. So I'm going to go with that.
Was that in kind of a semi-shade area?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's an evergreen that does well in the shade.
Yeah, and it does, it kind of spreads out more than it grows up. I think that if you've got to cover some area there, that would be an option there. So I'm going to go with the Japanese yew.
Oh, good idea. Okay. Well, then my next pick is pyramidal arborvitae, because I need something for the rabbits to eat during wintertime. and I will put chicken wire around it. Otherwise, they will have a salad out of there. But I love the pyramidal arborvitae. Have you ever seen any of the cemeteries around that have the big pyramidal? They're so stately, especially like if they're in a little grouping, maybe of 3. Pyramidal arborvitae, if the rabbits and deer are kept away from them, they can become very stately.
I'm going to go with the upright pyramidal juniper. Speaking of uprights and pyramidals and things like that. I love the texture of the juniper.
Yes,
and I think that's
the green types, kind of silvery blue. Yep. Which are you leaning towards?
I think
there?
Silvery blue would be kind of a nice. Something a little bit different.
Yeah, nice. Okay, well then I am going to, for a little interest, I'm going to go with the Mugo pine. Okay. Mugo pine is a long-needled shrub type pine that kind of makes a nice round mound, and that's going to make some nice contrast with the low-growing creeping junipers, and I got the potentilla, and I'll put a Mugo pine in. I think that'll create some nice difference of texture on those. Mugo pine is a nice, dark, deep green.
My final pick, I'm going to go with the Globe Arborvitae. Again, they're nice. They kind of stay kind of compact. We had one a couple of years ago, and I can't remember what happened. If it was just, I think we got a heavy snow and it split.
Oh, sure.
And so we had to pull it out, and I kind of missed it.
But a big Globe Arborvitae are beautiful.
They are, and it's really nice. And in my yard, I tend not to be a gardener who's got super precise things. So that was always this kind of pleasant surprise. It didn't really, we inherited it. It was in the yard before we came in. So it really stood out as something different, but I really miss it. So I think I'd go with the Globe Arborvitae.
Well, a good idea, because if you plant Globe Arborvitae, then maybe the rabbits will go to your yard instead of mine. on those. All right. So next we go to the category of vines. That's always nice on a fence. Have some vines growing, or even up kind of alongside the house, some vines growing. And let's see. So now, John, am I first pick on this category, or are you? We got to keep. I don't want to butt out ahead of you.
I think I am first.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
You got first pick on the vines.
Hey.
What are you going with?
Now this is a tough one, because I'm going to need a dedicated spot for it, because I think bittersweet are not great for dogs. I think the dogs can chew on them, and I think they can get sick on them. But I love bittersweet.
Yeah, they are pretty.
I've got a friend who harvests some out in the wild, and I love to bring them inside. And I think I'm going to go with the bittersweet. I'll put it on the alley side of the fence, so away from our dogs. If the rabbits eat those and get sick, well, then that's on the rabbits. But I think it's a really pretty dry.
I like that idea. Flower. And there's a new variety of bittersweet where you only need one. Some of the older varieties, you needed two. You needed to have a male and a female. So you had to make sure a garden center had one of each. But there are new varieties, bittersweet, that is self-fruitful. And so, good choice.
Okay.
So the garden centers, I think, will be able to fix you up well there. And, man, do I do grape or wisteria? Oh, man, both. Oh, shoot. I shouldn't have said that because maybe you wouldn't pick the one of the two. Well, okay, I got to go with grape because not only are they a wonderful vine, but I'm going to get one of those that I can eat also. Edelweiss, Swenson Red. There's one called Somerset. Those are all pretty decent eating type grapes, and they've got some winter hardiness. So I get grape. I'm going to take grape.
Well, I was going to go with wisteria anyway, so I do have to follow
okay.
that. So wisteria is something that intrigues me. I don't grow it currently, but I've been kind of intrigued by it. So it's something I'd like to I'd give a shot.
Yes, and the variety Summer Cascade has some good winter hardiness to it, and the local garden centers do sell that. And so there's a couple of varieties that that you'll be happy with. So, okay, well, yeah, I'll be able to do without that. I know wisteria will have a good home with you. All right. So then I'm going to go with climbing rose.
Okay.
Climbing rose. And of course, climbing rose is the true climbing rose that can wrap around a trellis. Those aren't hardy enough here. But I'm going to go with William Baffin, which was developed in Canada, and it acts like a climbing rose, meaning it gets great big long canes that you just fasten to a trellis. So I got climbing rose.
Okay. That's good. We've talked about this. I have Virginia creeper in the backyard.
Yeah, isn't it like going all the way up a telephone up and the neighbor, your trees, the neighbor's trees?
We got it growing up our downspout.
Oh, sure.
I thought that was kind of, it's not going to constrict that. And it's not going to do
it hasn't covered the neighbor's house yet.
It hasn't gone that.
Escape.
But I'm going to go with the Englishman ivy. I think that would be a good thing. I would try to keep it to my fence.
Yeah, the Engelmann ivy is a little tamer.
Engelmann,
yep, that's a little bit tamer. And Engelmann ivy will be able to. It has suction cup holdfasts, they're called. So on a fence, it can hold on to that. The Virginia creeper. Okay, so I'll take the Virginia creeper. But Virginia creeper needs something to twine around. It needs like a chain link fence to kind of wire, or it needs to climb up the trunks of a tree or something that it can kind of grab onto. Whereas your Engelmann ivy, that was a good pick, that has the suction cups, the little tiny suction cups that allow it to attach to a solid surface. So yeah, good choice like for a wooden fence. Or you see those on stucco houses. That's the one that'll be able to hold on to siding like that.
All right, let's take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to get into the perennials.
If you're loving this podcast, be sure to check out our full lineup. From news and local politics to sports and true crime, find your next great listen right now at inforum.com/podcasts. That's inforum.com/podcasts.
All right, we're back, and this week we're doing our fantasy yard and garden draft, where we're picking in different categories the plants, trees, shrubs that we would want to start off to get our yard in shape. And Don, you are on the clock with perennials for shade.
Got to go with hosta.
Oh,
yeah. There are so many different colors and beautiful hostas. So hosta is going in my shade garden.
Okay, I'm gonna I'm going to go with, again, something with an early color, early flower. I'm going to go with a bleeding heart. Again, another good these are all good shade, but bleeding heart is kind of a nice, fun one to get you going earlier in the year.
That is beautiful. And so I think I'm going to go with the campanula. There's lots of different ones. There's some weedy bellflowers is what that family is. But there are some beautiful ones called clustered bellflower. That have purplish spikes, and so I'm going to go with that one, the campanula, called clustered bellflower.
I'm going to go with, even in the shade, something that may give me a little bit of color. I'm going to go with the astilbe. A lot of different varieties there, and you can really get some nice big pops of pink.
There's been a lot of work on astilbe. There's a lot of them available.
All right, so you're up. You've got one more.
Okay. Because I saw in your yard doing so well, Brunera.
Yes.
Am I pronouncing it the same way you do?
Brunera or Brunera?
Yeah.
Yeah. Either or.
Okay.
Yeah. Really
well, I get it. Yeah. It's my pick.
That's a good one.
I've seen it in your yard. I want it.
I want to put some more in myself. I'm going to go with, I love just saying the name, Ajuga.
Yes.
Ajuga. It's a good little ground cover.
It is beautiful for the shade. Kind of purplish. There's a green variety. There's a purplish with blue flowers. Yeah, it's great. And it's a ground cover that tends to stay somewhat tame too. It doesn't overrun the yard. So that's a good choice, John.
Okay, so we're going to go into, this is my first pick. We're in the perennials for sun. We're going kind of lightning around here. We're going to go a little quick. I'm going to say, boy, I love coneflowers. I'm just going to go with the coneflower. Again, a lot of different varieties there. You can get a lot of different colors. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, and I'll gladly yield coneflower to you because I want iris.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, they are just beautiful. And even the leaves, the sword-shaped leaves look nice even when they aren't blooming.
A thing I wish I had more space for is different kinds of ornamental grasses. So I'm going to have to get some kind of an ornamental grass in there.
Good pick.
A great kind of a year-round look. Maybe not so much in the spring, but once you cut it back. But yeah, you get great summer, great fall. Love being outside and seeing them sway. Yeah, I'm going to go with an ornamental grass.
Good pick. Well, my next one is the perennial salvia Blue Bayou.
Ooh, yeah.
I've grown it in the past. Got to have it again in my yard. Blue Bayou salvia.
Don, this may be, I may be swiping something from, I know it's something that I first read about when you wrote about it. I'm going to go with the giant fleece flower because that is a great, boy, you feel,
you got my next pick, but that's okay.
Brand new gardener, you put that in, it's easy to grow. And boy, within 3 years, you feel like you really did something. You didn't do anything.
And people going by will ask, what is that? That is amazing.
Great flower. Okay. So your final one there.
Okay, peony.
Yep.
I love peony. Old-fashioned perennial that'll be there 100 years.
Okay, so I think I went first on that. So you are up first with annual flowers.
So we are down to putting in some annual flowers. We've gone all the way from shade trees all the way down to now we got to put some annual flowers in our planters and wave petunias. Me. Yep, all the different types of waves. I'm going to put them in the ground beds and the pots and planters.
Yeah, I would do super petunias. I think they're pretty much the same thing, but yep. So I would be up. I'm going to go with zinnias. I like them as cut flowers brought into the house. I think that's really kind of a nice.
Nice. Lysianthus goes to me just because they're so unique.
I will go. We've talked a little bit about marigolds really aren't a rabbit and pest deterrent, but they are nice. And they're good to have. And that's something that I'm.
And they're not the first salad buffet choice of a rabbit either.
Right. So I'm going to go with that. We've got some along the walkway and I really love them.
Good. Then geraniums go to me because I love to overwinter them. They winter well in our basement. I get geraniums.
I'm gonna close it out with vinca. Another nice kind of little.
Those they like the heat and the sun. They do well in a container. So next to wrap it up, we've got annual flowers for the shade.
I got to go with coleus. I really have a soft spot for coleus. Again,
all the new different types and colors.
And again, as a relatively new gardener, it's something I felt I was able to do and watch them grow and get big, and also to be able to cut and take cuttings in the winter and overwinter them. Coleus is something I've always got to have.
Okay, good. Then I'll pick begonias.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, we put those on our front porch each year, so I'll take begonias.
A lot of great ones there, too. Lobelia is a really nice color there.
Good and kind of filler.
Yes.
With other things. It'll trail down a little bit.
Filler and a spiller, yes.
Yep, exactly. Turenia. I haven't grown Turenia for a while, but I'll take Turenia, also known as wishbone flower.
Okay.
They're small, definitely kind of for the shade. Hot sun would just fry it. But Turenia, sold at garden centers, interesting little flower. It does well in the shade.
With my last pick of the draft and for the annual flowers for shade, something that I've really become kind of maybe not addicted to, but picked up over the last couple of years, had really good luck with it. Fuchsia.
Oh,
fuchsia is a really you'd get surprising amount of very big splash of color, great texture. There's big kind of flowering bulbs. Great trailers, and that they grow in the shade. If you are limited in what you can grow, I would highly suggest.
And they're definitely for a microclimate, wind protected yard.
Yep,
exactly.
We've got ours by the fence and by the garage.
Oh, yeah, ideal.
So it's hanging there, and
that's a pick that I can see why you chose that. Then let's see, is the last one to me?
Last for you.
Last one to me. Oh, so annuals for shade, impatiens.
Yep.
I love those. They're just a classic. And there's a fairly new disease type, so I'll pick the impatiens. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that final pick.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you happy with the way your yard is looking in this fantasy draft?
I think this is awesome. We have each assembled, I think, a team or a yard all the way from shade trees down to the annuals in our containers. What more could one want?
I think it would be really fun to put this yard together, and and it would be fun to see all of it kind of come together over the course of a couple of years.
It will, so isn't it fun? And this is the time of year we're right before we're going to get out and plant things. So this is kind of fun to plan what it is we'd like to either start from scratch or add to our yards.
All right. Well, if people have questions for you about what they would, or if they want to comment on what they would pick in their fantasy draft for yard and garden, or just any questions in general about gardening, what's the best way to reach you?
Send me an email, donald.kinsler, KINZLER, @ndsu.edu.
All right, Don, this has been a lot of fun.
This has.
Normally, I would think that for a fantasy draft, we'd have to have pizza on the table and either beers or some kind of cold beverage, but we managed to do it by staying hydrated with water, and I think we had a good time.
Yes. Well, yes, this has been fun. It is fun. It's always fun to dream about what we want to plant.
Yep. All right. Well, Don, thanks again for coming by, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, John, and thanks everyone for listening.